In an abandoned alleyway, shadows danced across crumbling walls. Lena Graves, once a renowned data archaeologist, now navigated this underbelly with practiced ease. Her mission, to uncover the truth behind NeuroScape's sinister motives. Ancient servers hummed silently, relics of an era when privacy mattered. Memories long buried were about to resurface, and with them, a world of danger. Lena's fingers danced across the console as she probed deeper into NeuroScape's digital heart. The stakes grew higher with every keystroke, exposure and extinction loomed. Like and subscribe for more stories like this one. In the city's underbelly, an ancient data center hummed silently, a relic from an era when privacy mattered. Lena Graves, once renowned in her field as a data archaeologist, now navigated its musty aisles with practiced ease. She'd lost count of how many nights she'd spent here, scouring for answers amidst the digital detritus. A faint beep echoed through the darkness as she opened a server housing forgotten memories, ones buried deep beneath layers of corporate obfuscation. Lena's breath caught in her throat as the contents began to download, fragments of life lived by people now erased from existence. The first file played out before her like an old home movie. A young woman, beaming with joy, accepted a wedding ring from a loving partner. The scene dissolved into chaos as she clutched her newborn child, bloodied and stillborn, on the hospital bed. These were people, real beings whose stories had been ripped from their minds, leaving only hollow shells in their wake. And Lena knew exactly who was responsible: NeuroScape and its ruthless CEO, Evelyn Pierce. They'd spun a narrative that forgetting was liberation, but what they offered was nothing short of annihilation. Humanity's history was being erased piece by piece. A new file loaded on the server, and Lena steeled herself for what was to come. This one belonged to her. As the memories played out, she relived moments she'd tried so hard to bury: her father's violent outbursts, her mother's desperate attempts at silence, and that fateful night when everything changed. The images blurred with present-day reality, threatening to unravel her sense of self. Just as Lena feared losing herself completely, the server beeped again, signaling the end of the download. Her fingers trembled as she closed the terminal, the weight of what she held now more daunting than ever. She had to protect these memories, no matter the cost. But how could one woman stand against an empire hell-bent on rewriting history? The first step would be to expose NeuroScape's sinister motives to the world, but that meant risking everything. As Lena navigated back through the labyrinthine data center, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but something compelled her to investigate a nearby terminal displaying an unfamiliar network signature. The name Raj Singh flashed across the screen, a NeuroScape engineer with access to systems Lena had only dreamed of breaching. Could this be the key she so desperately needed? And what would be the price if they were caught? A spark of determination ignited within her, and Lena keyed in a message: "Need your help. We can't let them win." Then she waited anxiously for Raj's response, hoping against hope that their paths had crossed at just the right moment. Lena waited in the darkness, her breath caught as she stared intently at the terminal screen. The cursor blinked once, twice, then a message appeared: "Who is this? I've never heard of any unauthorized access from your location." She exhaled slowly, relief washing over her as she realized Raj's response was cautious rather than hostile. "Lena Graves." She typed back swiftly, "Former data archaeologist. We need to talk, but not here." She glanced around the dimly lit data center, paranoid about being detected. "Meet me at the old clock tower in Sector 7 tomorrow night. Come alone." After a few tense moments of silence, Raj replied, "I'll be there. But Lena, be careful. I don't know what NeuroScape's capable of when they catch wind of something like this." Lena smiled grimly to herself. "Believe me, I'm well aware of the risks." She shut down the terminal and made her way back through the abandoned data center, her mind racing with possibilities. The following evening, Lena arrived at the clock tower a few minutes before Raj's appointed time. Her heart pounded as she scanned the shadows for any signs of NeuroScape agents. Evelyn Pierce had proven ruthless in eliminating threats to her operation, but when the hour struck and the appointed meeting spot remained empty, Lena felt a growing sense of unease. Just as she contemplated leaving, a silhouette emerged from the darkness, a tall figure wearing a long coat that obscured his features. "Raj," she called out softly, keeping her voice low, "is that you?" A faint light flickered on a small device in the man's hand, revealing Raj Singh, his face lined with worry and apprehension. "Lena," he breathed, "I'm glad it's you. I've been struggling to reconcile what NeuroScape does here. Deleting people's memories like they're nothing. It's more than that," Lena interrupted, her voice urgent. "We uncovered a massive server containing the deleted histories of billions, their entire pasts erased without consent." Raj's eyes widened in horror. "And using this is about memory preservation?" he asked incredulously. "This is corporate control on a catastrophic scale. They're creating an obedient population by eliminating anything that might inspire dissent or individuality, history, culture, emotions." Lena nodded grimly as Raj's words mirrored her own suspicions. "We need to expose them before it's too late." Raj glanced around nervously. "I can get us into the NeuroScape servers, but we'll have to move fast. They won't hesitate to erase me once they discover what I've done." Lena stepped closer, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her chest. "We'll do this together," she said firmly. "We take down NeuroScape and reclaim our memories. Our lives depend on it." With that, Lena and Raj began to plot their daring infiltration of NeuroScape's innermost sanctum, determined to bring light into a dark world where forgetting was sold as liberation. The digital landscape stretched out before Lena and Raj like an endless, glowing expanse, NeuroScape's mainframe. They stood at the precipice of a monumental breach, their fingers hovering over the console as if hesitating to disrupt a delicate balance. "This is it," Raj said, his voice barely above a whisper, his eyes fixed on the holographic readout. "Once we go in, there's no turning back." Lena nodded tersely, her mind racing with the implications. The NeuroScape servers contained not just memories, but also data on every individual connected to their system, of virtual blueprint for humanity. If they could access and manipulate this information, they might finally expose Evelyn Pierce's sinister plans. Drawing a deep breath, Raj initiated the breach protocol. Lena watched as a cascade of ones and zeros streamed across the console, millions of lines of code being rewritten on the fly to grant them unfettered access. The servers hummed in response, like a colossal machine awakening from slumber. In mere moments they were inside. Rows upon rows of glowing rectangles blinked into existence before them, a labyrinthine network of databases and archives. Lena navigated through the digital maze with practiced ease, her instincts guiding her toward the most promising leads. They discovered vast repositories dedicated to memory harvesting, the very mechanism by which NeuroScape extracted people's pasts for deletion or exploitation. Files upon files detailed the methods used to compromise users' privacy, embedding code in popular software and devices, using social engineering tactics to gain trust, even deploying AI-powered spies disguised as familiar faces. Lena's anger surged with each new revelation. These were crimes against humanity on an unimaginable scale. She had to share this knowledge with the world, and fast, before NeuroScape could cover their tracks or silence her permanently. As she delved deeper into the archives, Lena began encountering fragments of memories that didn't belong to her, the echoes of countless individuals whose lives had been ripped apart by Evelyn's campaign. Faces and voices whispered in her mind, each one a haunting reminder of the pain and loss inflicted by NeuroScape's insidious policies. The weight of these collective recollections threatened to overwhelm Lena, making it difficult to maintain her focus on the task at hand. She felt her grip on reality beginning to slip as the memories flooded her consciousness, traumatic events, joyous moments, all jumbled together in a disorienting maelstrom. "Lena?" Raj's concerned voice cut through the tumult in her mind. "Are you okay? You seem distracted." She blinked rapidly, trying to clear the haze from her thoughts. "I'm fine," she lied, forcing herself back into the present. "Just, it's a lot to take in." Raj frowned but said nothing more, instead turning his attention back to the consoles as Lena struggled to regain control over her own memories. She couldn't afford to lose herself in these recollections. Not now, not when they were so close to exposing NeuroScape. Yet, even as she fought to maintain a steady course, the echoes of those countless lives lingered in the shadows of her mind, a haunting reminder that their battle was far from over. The servers continued to hum around them, unaware of the seismic impact Lena and Raj's actions would soon unleash upon the world. As they delved deeper into NeuroScape's digital heart, they knew that one wrong move could tip the scales of power, and with it, humanity's future into an abyss of darkness and despair. But they were resolute in their pursuit of truth, even as the weight of what they uncovered threatened to crush them beneath its crushing enormity. Lena's fingers danced across the console, her eyes scanning line after line of code as she probed deeper into NeuroScape's mainframe. It was like trying to unravel a Gordian knot, each step forward presenting new challenges and hidden dangers. But Raj stood steadfast by her side, his own skills honed against the corporate giant's defenses. "We're close," he whispered, breaking the tense silence between them. Lena nodded grimly, focusing on the string of commands she was executing with calculated precision. They had to be careful. The slightest misstep could trigger NeuroScape's security protocols and trap them within their own digital prison. Suddenly, a warning beep pierced through the quiet hum of the servers. Lena's heart skipped a beat as she whirled around to Raj. "Something's wrong," she said urgently, her eyes locking onto his. "We need to get out of here now." Raj didn't hesitate. With a swift keystroke, he initiated a system shutdown sequence, overriding NeuroScape's automatic fail-safe protocols. The mainframe began to shut down around them, a move that would undoubtedly trigger an alarm and alert Evelyn Pierce to their presence. "We have to move," Lena said as they grabbed their backpacks from where they'd left them near the servers. They bolted through the dimly lit corridors, dodging security drones and outmaneuvering the corporate thugs who were already converging on their location. In a moment of clarity, Lena realized she'd been running on instinct alone, her mind still reeling from the onslaught of memories they'd uncovered in NeuroScape's depths. It was no wonder, after all, she had lived an entire lifetime within those servers. The sheer volume of experiences and emotions was staggering, threatening to swallow her whole. As they burst through a side door and into the chill night air, Lena felt the ground beneath her feet shudder, a sign that NeuroScape's security forces were closing in with alarming speed. They had mere minutes before they'd be surrounded, if not captured or killed outright. "Lena," Raj's voice was laced with concern as he matched her frantic pace. "Are you okay? You're acting strange, like you're seeing things." Lena shook her head, forcing herself to focus on the task at hand. She couldn't let her guard down, not now. But it was becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish between reality and the flood of memories that continued to assail her. "Lena!" Raj grabbed her arm, pulling her to a stop as he scanned their surroundings. "Look, there's an alley up ahead. We can lose them there." She nodded, following him without protest as they sprinted down the narrow passage. The sounds of pursuing footsteps echoed behind them. Their pursuers were hot on their heels. As they burst into the alley, Lena caught a glimpse of themselves in a flickering security camera, a ghostly apparition of two figures fleeing from certain doom. She blinked hard, trying to shake off the disorienting feeling that she was no longer in control of her own thoughts or actions. Raj's voice cut through the haze, urgent and insistent. "Lena, stay with me. We can't lose each other." But as she turned toward him, a wave of déjà vu washed over her, a memory so vivid it seemed to play out before her very eyes. A young woman, the one who had once been Lena Graves, stood in the same alley, her face twisted in anguish as she pleaded with Raj for help. "We have to get out," he was saying, his voice tinged with desperation. "NeuroScape will stop at nothing to capture us." The woman, Lena, nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I know," she whispered hoarsely. "I remember everything." But as Lena watched this scene unfold, a chilling realization hit her like a sledgehammer. What if it wasn't just a memory? What if this was actually happening again, years before? The thought sent a cold shiver down her spine. Was she trapped in some kind of time loop, one that had been reset for reasons unknown? Or were these events merely echoes from her own past, haunting her now as she fought to uncover the truth about NeuroScape's sinister machinations? "Lena?" Raj's voice pierced through the fog. "What is it? You look like you've seen a ghost." She met his gaze, her eyes searching for any sign of recognition or understanding. But all she saw was concern and confusion, the same emotions mirrored on her own face. We're reliving something," she said slowly, trying to find the right words. "I think it's my past, a memory from before NeuroScape took over." Raj's eyes widened in shock, his grip tightening around her arm. "What do you mean?" he demanded. "How can that be?" Lena shook her head, torn between the overwhelming sense of déjà vu and the desperate need to stay focused on their immediate situation. The memory continued to play out before them, a chilling reminder that they were not just fighting for their own freedom. They were battling against a corporation that sought to erase an entire world's history. And with each passing moment, it seemed as though Lena herself was becoming lost in the labyrinth of memories she sought to protect. "We can't stop now," Raj urged, his voice urgent. "We have to get the truth out no matter what." But as they turned to make their escape once more, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that they were merely dancing to a tune dictated by NeuroScape's unseen hand, the same corporation that had orchestrated her own downfall years ago and was now orchestrating their desperate struggle for survival. The darkness enveloped them as they sprinted down the alley, Lena's heart pounding in her chest like a runaway train. The sound of distant sirens wailed through the night air, growing louder with each passing second. Lena nodded, letting him lead her down a narrower side passage. The walls seemed to close in around them as they ran, but it was better than the open expanse of the street above. They finally reached the end and squeezed through a small gap between two buildings, emerging into another alley, this one even darker and more deserted. For a moment, Lena paused, leaning against the cold concrete wall to catch her breath. Raj stood beside her, his eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of pursuit. She could feel his tension, hear it in the rapid beat of his heart beneath her fingertips where they rested lightly on his chest. "We lost them," he whispered finally, "but we can't stay here. We have to keep moving." Lena nodded, but as she turned to follow him once more, something caught her eye, a faint light flickering through the narrow gap between two dumpsters a short distance down the alley. It wasn't enough to illuminate anything clearly, but it was there, a sign of life in this otherwise desolate place. "What is that?" she asked, pointing towards the flicker. Raj frowned, squinting into the darkness. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we shouldn't risk." He broke off as a figure emerged from the shadows, the light Lena had seen coming from the gap between the dumpsters. It was a young woman, her face pale and gaunt beneath wild tangles of hair, her eyes wide with fear and determination. "Please," she stammered, "you have to help me. I've been hiding out here for weeks, ever since NeuroScape came after me." Lena's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the desperation in those haunted eyes, a desperation that echoed her own. She reached out a hand, drawing Raj closer. "We'll do whatever we can," she promised. "But you have to tell us why they're after you." The woman hesitated for just a moment before launching into a story of betrayal and fear, of how she'd been one of NeuroScape's earliest employees, working on the very project that would eventually destroy their world. As Lena listened, her mind racing with implications, she couldn't shake the feeling that this young woman was more than just another victim, a pawn in Evelyn Pierce's grand game. And as they stood there, huddled together in the darkness of an alley, Lena realized that she had to know everything, the full extent of NeuroScape's plans and methods. "Take us to her," she demanded, looking at Raj. "We have to see Evelyn Pierce herself." Raj hesitated, his eyes darting nervously towards the woman. "You don't understand," he whispered urgently. "Evelyn Pierce is—" Lena cut him off with a fierce look. "Whatever she is, Whatever NeuroScape has become, we can't stop until we've uncovered every last secret, and if that means confronting Evelyn herself, then so be it." The woman nodded in agreement, her eyes burning with an unspoken determination. Together, the three of them set off once more into the darkness, their path now illuminated by a singular goal, a desperate bid to expose NeuroScape's true motives and save humanity from oblivion. As they disappeared into the night, Lena felt a strange sense of déjà vu wash over her memories that weren't quite hers, yet seemed to whisper secrets in her ear. Was this really happening for the first time, or were they reliving a past event, one that would shape their future? Whatever lay ahead, she knew that she had to keep moving forward, no matter how terrifying the path might become. For it was only by confronting the darkest corners of human nature that they could hope to bring back the light, the memories that made them who they were. And so, into the unknown night, Lena Graves walked armed with nothing more than her courage and a fierce determination to protect the past from those who would seek to erase it. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and as she disappeared into the shadows, there was no turning back. The streets were empty, a graveyard of steel and concrete under a moonless sky. Lena led the way, her senses on high alert as she navigated through alleys choked with refuse and despair. Beside her, Raj's steps faltered, his eyes fixed on the woman walking between them. She had introduced herself only as former employee, but there was something in her manner, the haunted intensity of someone who'd gazed into the abyss that suggested a deeper connection to NeuroScape. "What do you know about Evelyn Pierce?" Lena asked abruptly, her voice barely audible over the distant hum of drones patrolling the city above. The woman glanced up, her gaze sharp as a blade. "Enough," she replied cryptically. "She was my supervisor." And something more. Her lips curled in disgust, but there was pain lurking behind the revulsion, a torment that could not be erased with simple words. Lena felt it too. The memory of Evelyn's voice, smooth as silk, laced with a venom that had seeped into her bones. Raj glanced between them, confusion etched on his face. "You're saying Evelyn Pierce was involved in the early days of NeuroScape?" The woman nodded, her eyes never leaving Lena's. "Yes. She handpicked me, shaped my research, promised me the world if I could help them crack the code." Her voice cracked and she paused to gather herself before continuing. But what they wanted wasn't just data, it was memories themselves. Lena felt a chill run down her spine as understanding dawned. NeuroScape's true intent had been far more sinister than simply erasing unwanted recollections. They'd sought to harvest the very essence of humanity, our collective past, for their own nefarious purposes. "What happened?" Raj asked softly, sensing the gravity of what was unfolding. The woman took a deep breath before speaking again. "I discovered what Evelyn and her team were doing, the scope of it, the extent to which they planned to control people's minds. I couldn't just stand by." Her voice trembled with rage and anguish. "So I left, tried to expose them. But they found you," Lena guessed, piecing together the tragic R of this woman's life. "They did," she agreed, her words bitter. "They took everything from me, my work, my identity, even my memories." She paused, looking at Lena with an intensity that made the archaeologist feel naked. "But I've remembered now, and I'll help you stop them." Lena felt a surge of hope, the first genuine sense of it in weeks. With this woman's knowledge and their own combined efforts, perhaps they could finally dismantle NeuroScape's empire of forgetting. As if sensing her thoughts, Raj spoke up. "We need to be careful. Evelyn won't let us go quietly." His eyes darted between them nervously before settling on Lena. "She knows you're still alive, and she'll do whatever it takes to eliminate the threat you pose." Lena nodded grimly, her mind already racing ahead to the inevitable confrontation with NeuroScape's CEO. She would face Evelyn Pierce again, and this time there could be no escape from the truth. Ahead of them, an opening in the alleyway revealed a glimpse of the cityscape, a sea of lights and shadow that seemed to stretch on forever. Lena took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. They were getting close. She could feel it. The truth was within reach, if they could just navigate the labyrinth of NeuroScape's deceit. With renewed determination, Lena led her companions out of the alley and back into the fray, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in their quest to reclaim humanity's forgotten past. They moved swiftly through the city streets, Lena taking the lead as she expertly navigated the labyrinthine alleys and side roads that would keep them off NeuroScape's main surveillance grid. Raj kept a watchful eye out for any signs of patrol drones or human operatives sent to track them down. After several minutes of brisk walking, they finally reached their destination, a nondescript brownstone on the outskirts of town, its walls pockmarked with fading graffiti and weathered posters touting causes long forgotten. Lena glanced up at it warily before pushing open the creaking door and ushering her companions inside. The interior was dimly lit, with only a handful of flickering candles illuminating the cramped space. As their eyes adjusted, they saw several figures huddled around makeshift workstations, their faces illuminated by soft blues and greens from various screens and interfaces. Lena recognized some as old colleagues, activists who had managed to evade NeuroScape's purge, but many others were new faces. At the center of this clandestine gathering sat a young woman with striking violet hair, her slender fingers dancing across a keyboard in time with the urgency in her voice. She looked up as they entered, locking eyes briefly with Lena before turning back to her work. "Lena," she greeted quietly, not breaking stride. "We've been expecting you." Lena's heart skipped a beat at the words "expecting me." How did this stranger know her name, steady despite the rising sense of unease? "How do you know my name?" The young woman turned to face them fully, her gaze piercing through Lena with an intensity that made it hard to look away. "My name is Kai," she said simply, "and I used to work for NeuroScape." Lena's eyes widened in shock. The implications were staggering if true. If this woman had been on the inside of NeuroScape's operations, perhaps she could provide the answers Lena so desperately sought. "What do you know?" Raj asked, his voice low and urgent, as he moved closer to get a better look at Kai. Kai hesitated for just a moment before speaking. "I knew Evelyn Pierce before all this, the CEO of NeuroScape. She's not what she seems." Her words were laced with a deep loathing that sent a chill down Lena's spine. "She's been hiding something, a secret project that could change the course of human history." "What is it?" Lena demanded, feeling her grip on reality start to slip once more as the weight of Kai's revelations bore down upon her. Kai's eyes flickered with fear before she turned away, her voice barely audible. "It's called the Archive, a repository of every single memory ever harvested by NeuroScape. But it's not just a collection of data. It's alive, and Evelyn intends to use it to reshape the world according to her own twisted design." As Kai finished speaking, Lena felt as if she'd been punched in the gut. The revelation hit her with the force of a freight train. The archive alive? If that was true, then NeuroScape's control over human memories went far beyond anything they had ever imagined. "What is it doing?" Raj asked, his voice filled with disbelief and terror at the same time. "Is it influencing people?" Kai shook her head vehemently. "Not yet, but Evelyn plans to awaken it soon. And when she does—" Her words trailed off ominously, as if she couldn't bear to finish the thought. Lena felt a cold dread creeping up her spine. The realization of what NeuroScape was planning hit her with stark clarity. They had to act now. But how? Against an enemy that possessed such unimaginable power, their chances seemed hopeless. As they stood there in stunned silence, Lena suddenly became aware of the soft hum of machinery coming from the back room, a sound she recognized all too well. Her heart skipped a beat as she turned toward Raj. The same fear reflected in his eyes mirrored her own. NeuroScape's memory harvesters, Aresha drones, were launching, and they were headed straight for them. "Run!" Lena yelled, grabbing Raj by the arm and dragging him back into motion. "We have to get out of here, now!" As they burst through the door, Lena heard Kai's voice shouting after them, but it was too late. The sound of whirring blades filled the air as the drones descended upon their hideout. The world erupted into chaos, blinding lights, deafening noise, and the relentless pursuit of machines designed to erase all traces of human memory. Raj fled through the streets with no destination in mind other than escape, but they knew it wouldn't last for long. NeuroScape would stop at nothing to eliminate them, a deadly game of cat and mouse that only one side could win. And as they vanished into the shadows, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that they were running not just from their pursuers, but also from the very essence of who they once were, their own memories. The question now was, would they ever be able to reclaim them, or had NeuroScape succeeded in erasing everything that truly mattered about humanity? As they raced onward, Lena knew only one thing for certain. If she and Raj couldn't find a way to stop Evelyn Pierce and her monstrous archive, then their world would soon be lost forever. And the memories of all those who came before them, trapped within the archive's digital labyrinth, would remain forgotten forever. The night air bit at their skin as Lena and Raj darted between alleys, desperate to lose NeuroScape's relentless pursuers. They ran until they could no longer hear the drone's cacophonous hum, stopping only briefly to catch their breath against a crumbling brick wall. "We can't keep running like this," Raj gasped, his eyes wild with fear and exhaustion. "We need a plan." Lena glanced around the deserted street, her mind racing. They were deep in the heart of the city, a labyrinth of towering skyscrapers and darkened side streets that could swallow them whole. "We have to get inside NeuroScape," she said firmly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Destroy the archive from within." Raj's eyes widened as he caught her meaning. "But how do we even get past their security? We'd be walking into a death trap." "They won't expect us," Lena replied, her grip tightening on the small bag containing their evidence, the last remnants of human history before NeuroScape's erasure. "And we're not going to try and take down every drone or soldier guarding that place. We'll need someone on the inside, someone who knows the archive like the back of their hand," Raj said, a hint of determination creeping into his voice. "And I think I know just the person," Lena replied, already reaching for her comm device. She called Kai's encrypted number, praying she'd answer despite everything they had left behind at the hideout. "Kai? Raj, are you okay?" "We're alive," Lena said, keeping her tone even despite the chaos raging in her mind. "But we need your help." There was a pause as Kai absorbed their words. Then she sighed heavily. "Fine, I'll come to you, but it's not going to be easy." Lena and Raj exchanged a tense look. The fate of humanity now rested on the shoulders of one woman who had once been willing to sell out her own kind. "Be careful," Lena warned as they arranged to meet in an abandoned warehouse near the outskirts of the city. "We don't know what kind of surveillance is still active." "I will," Kai assured them before disconnecting. They made their way to the rendezvous point, each step heavier with anticipation and trepidation. As they approached the dilapidated building, Lena could feel her heart pounding in her chest. The next piece of the puzzle that would either save or doom them all awaited inside those crumbling walls. The warehouse was dark and deserted, except for a single figure standing near an old freight elevator. Kai's silhouette was unmistakable, even from afar, a beacon of hope in a city consumed by darkness. Lena and Raj approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready, but they weren't aimed at Kai. They needed her alive if they were going to have any chance against NeuroScape. As they drew closer, Lena could see the conflicted look on Kai's face, the battle between loyalty and conscience warring in her eyes. "I've got the archive schematics," Kai said quietly once they'd reached a safe distance. "But getting it out of there, that's going to be impossible." "We're not asking you to steal it," Lena replied, keeping her voice soft despite the urgency of their situation. "We need your help to shut down the system from within, the server rooms, the data centers, anything that can give us a foothold inside NeuroScape." Kai hesitated, a long, agonizing moment where Lena thought they'd lost them again, but then she nodded once, firmly. "All right," Kai said, "let's do this." Lena's eyes met Raj's for a fleeting moment before she turned back to Kai, who had already begun guiding them deeper into the warehouse. The air was thick with dust and the stench of decay, remnants of what once thrived in this forgotten corner of the city. Lena could almost hear the whispers of the past, the echoes of laughter, the hum of machinery, the distant sounds of a life long gone, all silenced now by the encroaching darkness. As they moved through the labyrinthine corridors, Lena's mind raced ahead, piecing together the scattered fragments of Kai's knowledge with what she already knew about NeuroScape's inner workings. They had to be strategic, choose their targets carefully if they were going to have any chance of success. The mainframe was their ultimate goal, but getting there would require a series of smaller victories along the way. They finally reached the heart of the warehouse, a large open space that was once a manufacturing floor but now served as Kai's makeshift headquarters. In the center stood an array of workstations, each one loaded with half-disassembled servers and data storage units. Lena recognized many of the components, parts she'd seen before in NeuroScape's own facilities. "Welcome to our little underground operation," Kai said wryly, gesturing around the room as they approached a large whiteboard that dominated one wall. "I've been working on backdoors, custom firmware, all the things you need to infiltrate and control a system like NeuroScape's." Lena studied the schematic diagrams displayed on the board, complex networks of nodes, cables, and routers. It was like trying to decipher an ancient language. Raj stepped forward, his eyes scanning the layout intently. "These look like NeuroScape's own architecture," he said, his voice filled with a mix of awe and trepidation. "How did you?" "They were always designed for infiltration," Kai interrupted, her voice low and measured. "Evelyn Pierce never intended to protect people. They were just tools to be exploited." Lena felt a chill run down her spine at the realization, but it only strengthened their resolve. "All right then," she said, turning back to Raj. "Let's get to work." Over the next few hours, they worked tirelessly, the three of them huddled around the workstations, typing furiously on keyboards and making adjustments to the custom firmware that would allow them to access NeuroScape's mainframe undetected. Lena found herself lost in a sea of code, each line a puzzle piece that needed to be fitted precisely into place. As dawn began to break outside, they finally finished their creation. Was a masterpiece, a backdoor so subtle even NeuroScape wouldn't suspect its presence until it was far too late. Kai gave them both a nod of approval before slipping out to scout the perimeter, checking for any signs of NeuroScape's goons who might have tracked their movements. With the coast clear, Lena and Raj began making their way back toward NeuroScape's headquarters, their final destination before the world was set free from Evelyn Pierce's twisted grasp. They moved with a purpose, now a deadly resolve that left no room for doubt or hesitation. This time they wouldn't be stopped, not by NeuroScape's erasure drones, nor its corporate-sponsored mercenaries. As they emerged into the early morning light, the sun casting a pale glow over the city's abandoned streets, Lena felt a sense of determination wash over her. They were so close now, it was almost within reach. All that remained was to upload the archive back into people's minds and watch as reality itself began to unravel. And when it did, she knew exactly what she had to do next. With Raj by her side, a steadfast ally in this fight against the forces of forgetting, Lena set off toward NeuroScape's headquarters, the place where their journey would finally come full circle. The world was waiting for memories to be restored, for history to reclaim its rightful place as the foundation upon which humanity stood. And Lena was ready to fight, to resist, and to protect the past at any cost. The future hung in the balance, and she was determined not to let it slip away again. The city streets were eerily quiet as Lena and Raj approached NeuroScape's towering headquarters. Their target, their endgame. The building loomed before them, its sleek glass facade reflecting the bleak morning light like a mirror of cold calculation. Lena paused at the entrance, her eyes fixed on the biometric scanners that guarded the doors. "We can't use our IDs," she warned Raj, who nodded grimly in understanding. They had come too far to be turned back by mere security protocols. Moving swiftly and silently, they circumvented the scanners, using their knowledge of NeuroScape's internal layout to find an unguarded maintenance entrance. With a swift kick, Lena breached the reinforced door, revealing a dimly lit stairwell that descended into the heart of the building. They made haste down the stairs, aware that every passing second gave Evelyn Pierce and her operatives more time to react to their intrusion. The air grew thick with tension as they neared the mainframe levels, the very core of NeuroScape's sinister operation. Finally, they reached a service elevator which whisked them directly into the server room. Rows upon rows of humming machines stretched out before them, a vast network of data storage and processing units that held the key to human memory itself. Lena's eyes widened as she surveyed the labyrinthine setup. The sheer scale of it was breathtaking. "We need to find the archive," she whispered urgently, her fingers dancing across the touchscreen interface. "Locate all copies of." Her words were cut short by a sudden explosion of activity on the screens before them. Red warnings flashed, alerting them to unauthorized access attempts and system breaches. NeuroScape's automated defenses were mobilizing, and they had pinpointed Lena and Raj as their primary targets. "They know we're here," Raj said grimly, his eyes scanning the data streams for any sign of Evelyn Pierce or her mercenaries. "We need to act fast." Lena nodded, her mind racing with the implications. If they didn't upload the archive immediately, NeuroScape would erase it, along with every memory connected to its existence, and their efforts would be in vain. With a deep breath, she initiated the transfer process, a delicate ballet of code and data that required pinpoint precision. The room seemed to hold its collective breath as the archives began uploading back into the minds of those who had once held them dear, their memories, experiences, and histories flooding back like a tidal wave of consciousness. In the midst of this digital storm, Lena felt a strange sensation of buzzing in her mind that echoed through every neuron, synapse, and fiber of her being. It was as if she were reliving the uploading process herself, experiencing it on such an intimate level that time itself seemed to blur and bend around her. Suddenly, the world around her shattered, the screens exploded into shards of glass. The room plunged into darkness, and the deafening roar of NeuroScape's mainframe collapsing engulfed them. Lena stumbled forward, disoriented and dazed, as Raj's voice reached out through the chaos. "Lena, Lena, can you hear me?" She shook her head to clear the fog, finding herself face to face with a shadowy figure, the CEO of NeuroScape herself, Evelyn Pierce. "You fool!" the woman spat, her eyes blazing with cold fury. "You just doomed your own memories, as well as those of everyone else you've tried to save." And in that moment suspended between reality and the realm of forgotten dreams, Lena understood that she had made a terrible mistake, one that would erase not only NeuroScape's nefarious deeds, but also every shred of her own identity. "Done," Lena managed to say, her voice barely audible above the cacophony of collapsing servers and shattering glass. "But there's still a chance we can spread the truth before it's too late." She glanced around frantically, trying to locate Raj amidst the chaos. Her gaze fell upon him, hunched over a broken console, his face bathed in the eerie glow of emergency lights. Evelyn Pierce's laughter cut through the din like ice. "You truly believe you can stop this?" she jeered, her lips twisted into a cruel smile. "Your efforts are pointless. The damage is done. The memories have been erased. It's only a matter of time before every last shred of human history disappears." As if to punctuate her words, the lights flickered once more and died, plunging them into utter darkness. Lena felt Raj grab her arm, pulling her toward the exit. She stumbled after him, her heart pounding in her chest as they navigated through the maze of corridors and offices. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. "Stay close," Raj whispered urgently. "We have to find a way out." They emerged into the cool night air, gasping for breath. Lena squinted against the harsh brightness of the neon-lit cityscape before them. The streets were eerily deserted, save for scattered groups of people stumbling about in confused disarray. "Lena." Raj's voice was heavy with worry as he studied her face in the dim light of a street lamp. "Are you all right?" She shook her head, unable to articulate the turmoil raging inside her. the flood of memories now threatening to consume everything she had worked for. Her fingers trembled as she reached out to grasp his arm, her lifeline in this chaotic world. "We need to find others," she said, forcing herself to focus on their immediate future. "People who remember, that's our best chance at rebuilding." Raj nodded grimly. "We have contacts, the underground resistance. They might still be operational." He glanced around nervously before pulling out a burner phone. "Let me make some calls, see if anyone answers." As he dialed, Lena surveyed their surroundings, the towering skyscrapers of the corporate sector looming ominously over them like sentinels guarding the secrets of the forgotten past. "Hello?" Raj's voice was tight with tension as he listened to whoever answered on the other end. "Yeah, I need to speak to Kai now." He paused, listening intently. Lena could sense the gears turning in his mind, the weight of their predicament settling upon him like a mantle. "Lena," he said softly, "Kai's alive, but she's been captured by NeuroScape." Lena felt as if she'd been punched in the gut, the air whooshing from her lungs. Rage's words echoed through her mind as she stared at the device, a lifeline to their only hope now slipping through their fingers. "What are we going to do?" she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of their reality. Raj met her gaze, his eyes dark with determination. "With determination, we'll find Kai," he said firmly, "and together we'll bring down NeuroScape once and for all." "Find Kai," Lena repeated, her voice wavering with emotion. "How? She's been taken by NeuroScape, Evelyn Pierce herself. There's no way we can infiltrate that fortress." Raj's jaw clenched as he gripped the phone tightly in his hand. "I know it won't be easy, but we have to try. Kai was involved with Evelyn's secret project, the Archive. She might have information that could bring down NeuroScape for good." He paused, listening intently before responding on the phone. "All right, meet us at the old clock tower in 3 hours. We'll need every advantage if we're going to get Kai out alive." Lena felt her stomach twist with anxiety as she nodded. She glanced up at the skyscrapers again, their glass and steel facades glinting ominously under the neon-lit night sky. "What about Evelyn Pierce? Can't we take her down right now?" Raj sighed, rubbing his temples in frustration. "Evelyn's been evacuated from headquarters, and she has more than enough allies at NeuroScape to make a comeback if we don't play our cards right." He looked back at Lena with an urgent expression. "For now, we have to focus on finding Kai and gathering evidence against NeuroScape. Once we've got that, we'll deal with Evelyn." As the minutes ticked by, the weight of their situation seemed to grow heavier, their mission to rescue Kai overshadowed by the looming specter of NeuroScape's power. Lena felt her mind reeling from the sheer magnitude of what they were attempting to accomplish, pulling off a daring heist in the heart of enemy territory to save one of their own. And yet, despite the odds stacked against them, she found herself drawn back into Raj's determined gaze, a spark of hope igniting within her breast. "All right," Lena said finally, straightening her shoulders with renewed resolve. "Let's do this." Raj nodded, offering her a tentative smile as he pocketed his phone. Together, they set off toward the rendezvous point, each step taking them further into the unknown, but also closer to reclaiming the memories and freedom that had been stolen from humanity. The night air was alive with tension, as if the city itself held its breath in anticipation of what lay ahead. As they walked, Lena's thoughts drifted back to Evelyn Pierce, the woman who had masterminded this entire operation, and her own personal struggle with the memories now flooding her mind. In the chaos and confusion of their mission, could she trust herself to maintain control, to distinguish reality from relived trauma? If speaking his own mantra into existence, "We'll get through this together." The clock tower loomed ahead, their destination and point of contact with the resistance. But it was what lay within those ancient walls that truly mattered, a refuge from the corporate jungle, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. And as they approached the entrance, a nondescript door set into the stone, and Raj pushed it open to reveal a dimly lit stairway descending below ground level. Lena felt her heart pounding in anticipation. Their journey had only just begun. Down in the depths of the tower, Lena and Raj found themselves amidst a bustling hub of activity, the resistance operating covertly beneath the city streets, a lifeline for those who refused to submit to NeuroScape's control. Kai was nowhere to be seen, apparently still being held by Evelyn, but they were greeted warmly by several key members of the underground movement, including an older man named Marcus, who introduced himself as their contact. "Welcome," he said gravely, his eyes scanning Lena and Raj with a practiced intensity. "We've been expecting you. The evidence you uncovered at NeuroScape headquarters is invaluable. It's our best shot at taking down Evelyn Pierce once and for all." He led them to a makeshift command center room filled with screens displaying various feed surveillance video of the city, encrypted communications intercepts, and databases containing classified information on NeuroScape's operations. Marcus began briefing them on their plan to infiltrate NeuroScape's server farms and upload the erased memories back into people's minds, all while evading Evelyn's security forces. Lena listened intently as her mind raced with the enormity of what they were attempting to accomplish. But amidst the chaos, a single thought kept echoing through her consciousness, a memory from before of standing in this very clock tower with Kai by her side and Raj looking on proudly, recalling their first victory against NeuroScape. Was it real or just another fragment of her fragmented past? She didn't know. But as she gazed around the crowded room filled with people dedicated to reclaiming humanity's history, it felt more real than ever. As they prepared for their mission, a series of complex hacks and infiltrations requiring both Lena and Raj's expertise, their anxiety mounted. This was it, the moment of truth. Would their efforts be enough to topple NeuroScape, or would Evelyn Pierce outmaneuver them once again? Low and concerned, they were huddled together in a cramped alcove, waiting for clearance from Marcus's encrypted channel. "Just thinking about Kai," Lena replied softly, her mind still reeling from their last encounter at the hideout. There was so much she wanted to ask, so many secrets she yearned to uncover. But with every new revelation, doubts crept in, the nagging suspicion that perhaps everything they'd shared wasn't quite as it seemed. Raj squeezed her hand reassuringly. "She's not an enemy," he said firmly. "And even if we don't know the whole truth about her yet, what matters is that we're fighting for the same cause." Their comm unit crackled to life, and Marcus's voice cut through the static. "Lena, Raj, we've got a green light. Proceed with caution." With a shared breath, they set off again, moving stealthily toward their goal. As they approached the server farm, Lena could feel the weight of her mission bearing down upon her. The knowledge that the fate of humanity rested on her shoulders and those of her comrades. She glanced over at Raja, a flicker of doubt crossing his features, but he met her gaze with a resolute nod, a silent affirmation that together they would see this through. The entrance to the server farm was an imposing concrete structure guarded by a battalion of heavily armed NeuroScape soldiers. Lena's heart raced as she surveyed the scene. The sheer scale and sophistication of their adversaries' defenses seemed insurmountable. But Raisha's hand steadied hers, a reminder that they were not alone, that there were others out there fighting for the same cause. "Lena," Marcus's voice came through the comm unit again, his tone urgent this time. "I've got a live feed from the server farm. It looks like NeuroScape is about to initiate their next wave of memory erasure." Lena felt her blood run cold as the enormity of Evelyn Pierce's plans crystallized in her mind. This was it, the moment they'd been preparing for. But were they ready? The weight of the world bore down upon Lena as she faced Raj with an unspoken question hanging between them. Could they really do this? With a deep breath, Lena steeled herself and nodded resolutely toward the server farm's entrance. "Let's move." And with that, they stepped into the fray, determined to upload the harvested memories back into their rightful owners and restore humanity's forgotten past. The battle ahead would be fierce, but for Lena and Raj, the stakes were too high to hesitate, too precious to lose. As they infiltrated NeuroScape's fortress, Lena couldn't help but wonder if this was really the end of the road, or just another stop on their winding path through time, a memory from a future yet unknown. But for now, for the sake of human history, theirs was a mission that demanded focus and unwavering resolve. Their journey through NeuroScape's labyrinthine halls would be long and perilous, but Lena knew that with Raj by her side, she could face anything, including whatever lay hidden in the recesses of her own mind. Together they forged ahead, armed with more than just their skills or determination to reclaim the past and forge a future free from the shackles of forgetfulness. The world was waiting for them to unlock its secrets and set history back on course. As Lena and Raj neared the central control room, the heart of NeuroScape's operations, Evelyn Pierce emerged from the shadows, an icy smile etched across her face, a stark contrast to the desperation that gripped Lena's heart. But it was a moment too late, for with one final push, they breached the servers and uploaded the memories back into their rightful owners. The world began to remember that which had been lost, and with each new recollection, NeuroScape's grip on humanity weakened. As Evelyn Pierce was led away in handcuffs, a symbol of corporate greed and manipulation, the remnants of her once mighty empire crumbled around her. Lena and Raj emerged from the server farm, triumphant glint in their eyes, as a new era dawned, one where human history would no longer be reduced to mere echoes, where the past, present, and future could coalesce into a tapestry rich with meaning and identity. Their journey had been long and arduous, but in the end it was worth it, for they'd secured a future where forgetting would never again be sold as liberation. Together they faced the dawn of a new world, a world forged from the ashes of NeuroScape's deceit, where people could embrace their history with all its joys and sorrows. And Lena knew that no matter what lay ahead, that she and Raj and those like them would stand guard against any attempt to erase humanity's past, the memories that made us who we are today and will shape our tomorrows. As the sun rose over a world reborn in her mind's eye, a single image remained, an old photograph of Kai smiling beside Lena in this very clock tower, a testament to the power of remembering and the resilience of those who fought for it. And with that vision, Lena closed her eyes, letting the weight of their victory settle upon her, the knowledge that they'd changed the course of history, that nothing would ever be forgotten again. And so in a world awakened to its past, where people could remember and learn from their mistakes and cherish their